I never thought I'd be the guy standing here, writing this out like some messed up story for a subreddit, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I was with Emily for about 4 years. We'd been planning to get married, everything was supposed to be perfect. Or so I thought. Honestly, looking back, there were little signs, nothing major, just weird little things that I brushed off. She'd get defensive when I asked about her phone, hide it more often, and sometimes she'd get these strange calls late at night. I figured maybe she was just working late or talking to friends, but deep down, I think I knew something was off. The first real red flag was her sudden obsession with her phone. She'd get super secretive about texts, lock it all the time, and if I'd even glance in her direction, she'd snap at me. That should have been a warning sign, but I was too trusting, too naive. I mean, she was my fiancée. We'd been through a lot together, and I really thought she loved me. We'd talk about marriage, kids, everything, she'd even pick out names. But then came the little cracks. It started about 2 weeks before the wedding. Emily suddenly became distant, more irritable than usual. She'd blow up over small things, snap at me for no reason. She'd cancel plans last minute, say she was busy at work or had too much on her plate. Honestly, I didn't want to believe she was cheating, but the gut feeling was gnawing at me. I'd find myself checking her phone, even though I told myself not to. And one night, I caught something that just shattered everything I thought I knew. I was lying on the couch, scrolling through her messages because I couldn't sleep. I saw a text thread that made my stomach drop. It was from someone named Alex, a guy I didn't recognize. They'd been texting for weeks, and the messages weren't innocent. They were talking about meeting up, about how she needed comfort after some argument, and then it hit me. Emily had been lying about everything. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, and I was too blind to see it. That's when I realized the truth. Emily was cheating on me, right before our wedding, with my own brother, no less. I couldn't believe it. I still can't. When I confronted her the next day, I thought I was prepared. I thought I'd have some kind of calm, rational response. But as soon as I told her I knew, her face twisted into this bitchy sneer. She started lying, of course. Said it was just comfort, that she didn't mean anything, that it was nothing serious. She had the audacity to act like I was overreacting, like I was breaking her down for something she didn't even care about. Meanwhile, I found out later she'd told her friends she was just talking to my brother to keep him happy, that she was just confused. But I saw the evidence. I saw the damn pictures she sent to him, her texts bragging about how she was finally getting what she wanted. And she had the nerve to act like I was the crazy one. That moment changed everything for me. I felt like my world was spinning out of control. I was angry, hurt, betrayed in a way I never thought possible. How could she do this? Not just cheat on me, but with my own brother right before our wedding. It made all the promises, all the plans we had made seem like a sick joke. She told me she needed comfort, like that was some excuse that made everything okay. But it didn't. It just made me realize I'd been living in some kind of illusion, believing everything was perfect when it was all a lie. That's the moment I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to figure out what to do next, how to handle the mess she made. After the initial shock wore off, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the stuff I found. The messages, her voice when she was lying about everything, the way she tried to act innocent when I called her out. I felt sick. That's when I started noticing more things, small things, but enough to make my blood boil. She'd start canceling plans, saying she was busy, but then I'd see her out with her friends or, worse, with my brother. It was like she was playing some twisted game, and I was just an idiot who couldn't see it. I remember sitting in our living room, staring at my phone, trying to process what I'd just uncovered. I didn't even know how to start confronting her. Again, my mind kept racing, trying to find some way out of this nightmare. But I knew one thing: this wasn't something I could sweep under the rug or pretend didn't happen. No way, not anymore. So I decided to confront her directly. I waited until she got back from her work trip, which I now knew was a lie. She got home, acting all sweet and innocent, like nothing was wrong. I looked her right in the eyes and just laid it out. I told her I knew about the affair, about her and my brother. Her face changed immediately. Her eyes got this sharp, bitchy glint, and she started denying everything. Said I was crazy, that I was paranoid, that I was misunderstanding her. She told me she needed comfort, that she was confused and that I was overreacting, that she loved me but she just made a mistake. I could see through her lies like glass, but I wasn't about to let her spin her web of bullshit. I pulled out the texts, the pictures, everything I had saved. I threw her phone on the table and told her I saw it all. Her reaction was shocking. Instead of breaking down or admitting she was wrong, she got angry. She called me paranoid, crazy, even possessive. She said I was suffocating her, that I was a control freak. Honestly, it was classic gaslighting. She was trying to turn it around and make me look like the bad guy, like I was the one ruining everything. But I knew better. I'd caught her dead to rights. The thing that hurt the most, though, was her attitude, her cold, bitchy attitude. She basically told me I was overreacting, that it was just sex, just comfort, that I was being unfair. She said I should be grateful she was still with me and not running off with some other guy. That was the moment I realized how manipulative she was, how she was trying to turn everything around on me, make me feel guilty for catching her. But I didn't back down. I told her she could keep her lies, her excuses, her love. I told her I was done. I couldn't keep pretending that this was just some mistake or a moment of weakness. That was the start of everything falling apart. The emotional blow hit hard. It was like my whole world shattered in that moment. I felt betrayed, angry, and so damn stupid for not seeing it sooner. I'd always thought she loved me, that she'd be faithful. But she just used me, used my brother, and lied straight to my face. The worst part was knowing I'd be walking down the aisle soon, about to marry someone who was already cheating on me and lying about everything. It's a sick feeling, realizing you don't even know who someone really is. That's when I started to question everything, even myself. How did I miss all these signs? Was I that blind? Or was she just that good at hiding it? I couldn't answer that anymore. All I knew was I had a mess to clean up, and I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. After that confrontation, everything changed. I was numb, but also furious. Part of me wanted to burst into tears, part of me wanted to punch a wall, and another part just wanted to get away from the entire mess. But I knew I couldn't just walk away without a plan. I had to think about what I was going to do next, about whether I even wanted to stay with someone capable of doing this to me, and how to handle my family's feelings when they inevitably found out. I started digging deeper, trying to figure out exactly how long this had been going on. I found more messages, more proof of her lying, more evidence of her sneaking around with my brother, who, by the way, had always been my best friend. That hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. The idea that my own flesh and blood had been cheating with my wife, lying in my face while I planned our future. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. In the days that followed, I kept replaying everything, trying to find some way to fix this or some reason to forgive her. But the truth kept hitting me harder each time. She lied about everything. The pregnancy, the plans for the wedding, her love for me, all of it was a lie. I found out she'd been faking the pregnancy too. Or at least that's what I suspect. I couldn't get confirmation, but the stories she told about being pregnant, the doctor visits she claimed to have gone to, all seemed fabricated. She kept telling me she'd wanted to have kids with me, that she was so excited. Meanwhile, she was hiding the affair and pretending everything was perfect. That kind of deception cuts deep. I remember sitting in my apartment, feeling like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. I was angry at her, yes, but also at myself. How I missed all these signs, how I was so blind that I didn't see the woman I loved was just a manipulative liar. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? And then there was the worst part, knowing she'd been lying about the pregnancy all along, hiding her affair from everyone, even our families. It was like she was this perfect actress, fooling everyone except me. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for wanting to believe in us. I also started to think about the wedding. Was I even going to go through with it? Could I ever marry a woman like her? The thought of standing at the altar, saying, "I do," knowing she had lied and cheated and planned this behind my back, it made my stomach turn. Honestly, I felt like I was living in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I wanted to confront her again, demand answers, but part of me knew that whatever she said would just be more lies. She was a pro at spinning stories, at pretending she was innocent, at twisting everything around so she looked like the victim. Meanwhile, my family still had no idea. I kept it to myself, deciding not to tell them right away. I didn't want to hurt them or cause unnecessary drama, but I knew I couldn't keep this secret forever. The more I found out, the more I realized I had to make a decision. Do I confront her again? Do I end things and get out? Do I try to save whatever shred of respect I had left? Honestly, I was just exhausted. All I wanted was some peace, but instead I was stuck in this whirlwind of lies and betrayal. My trust was shattered, and I didn't know if I could ever put it back together. The days dragged on, and every moment felt heavier than the last. I kept going over everything in my head, trying to find some clarity amidst the chaos. I couldn't believe I was even considering staying, but part of me still clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd come clean and apologize. Deep down, I knew that was unlikely. Emily had always been manipulative, and from what I could gather, she was very good at covering her tracks. Still, I thought, maybe I could get her to admit everything, to face her lies. One night I decided I had to confront her again, face to face. I told her I wanted to talk. She appeared surprised, but not really. That bitchy attitude was still there, like she was trying to act innocent while knowing damn well what she'd done. I sat her down in our living room, my fists clenched because I knew I was about to unleash everything. My anger, my heartbreak, my disappointment. I laid everything out. How I found the messages, the fake pregnancy stories, the lies about her needing comfort. I told her I knew about her affair with my brother, how she'd been hiding it all from me, from our family. Her reaction, it was textbook. Her eyes narrowed, she sneered, and she snapped back with some bullshit about me not trusting her, about how I was crazy and overbearing. She called me paranoid and accused me of trying to ruin her life because I was insecure. That was the moment I realized how deep her manipulation went. She was trying to turn it around, make me the bad guy again. I wasn't having it. I told her straight up that I wasn't going to be played anymore. I told her that I'd seen enough to know she'd been lying from the start, that I couldn't trust her and that I didn't want her anymore. Her face twisted in anger. She started yelling, calling me names, saying I was possessive and crazy. She accused me of trying to control her, of trying to keep her from being happy. That was her favorite line, like I was the villain for catching her and trying to hold her accountable. But what stung the most was when she looked me right in the eyes and told me she never loved me anyway, that she'd only stayed with me out of obligation, and that she was done pretending. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That's when I realized I'd been a fool. All those promises, all those plans were just lies she told herself to keep up appearances. The woman I loved was just a master manipulator hiding her true nature behind a mask. That night, I finally decided I couldn't keep going like this. I told her I was leaving. I packed some clothes, my laptop, and just walked out of that apartment. I didn't even look back. I knew I'd probably never get closure, never get the apology I deserved, but I also knew I couldn't stay and be part of this sick game anymore. I felt more betrayed than I ever thought possible, by her, by my brother, by myself for not seeing it sooner. I was devastated, angry, and exhausted. But somehow, I knew I had to move on, even if that meant starting over from scratch. As I drove away that night, I kept thinking about how someone could lie so effortlessly, how they could pretend to love you while secretly screwing everything up behind your back. I kept asking myself if I'd ever trust again, if I'd ever be able to heal from this. The answer, honestly, was unclear. All I knew was I had to get out of that toxic situation. I had to rebuild my life without her, without the lies and without the betrayal. But the scars were there, and I knew they'd stay with me for a long time. The days after I left her place were a blur. I didn't want to go back, didn't want to face the fallout, but I knew I had to do something. I wasn't just leaving her. I was leaving behind a lie that had almost destroyed me. I also knew that I couldn't keep this secret from my family any longer. They deserved to know the truth, especially since Emily had been lying about her pregnancy and hiding everything from everyone. I wrestled with whether to tell them right away or wait until I was more emotionally stable, but I realized that keeping it inside was only making things worse. So I sat down with my sister and my parents and I told them everything I knew. At first, they didn't believe me. They thought I was overreacting or maybe just hurt and angry. But I pulled out the evidence, screenshots, texts, photos, everything I had saved. Watching their faces change as they saw the proof was heartbreaking. My dad's jaw clenched, my mom looked like she was about to cry, and my sister just sat there, stunned. It was a lot for them to absorb, especially when Emily had been such a perfect daughter-in-law up until this point. It was obvious they were hurt, especially my brother, who I had to confront later. When I finally told him, he was furious. He couldn't believe what he'd been part of, how he'd been lying to me, how Emily had played him. The betrayal cut deep there, too. My brother apologized profusely, saying he never meant to hurt me, but he'd been blinded by her bullshit. I told him I needed space, that I couldn't have him around right now, not until I sorted everything out in my head. Meanwhile, Emily kept texting me, trying to spin her version of things. She'd send messages saying she still loved me, that she was sorry for everything, and that she was going to fix it. I blocked her number. I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. Honestly, I was too angry to even respond. I knew she'd keep lying until she got what she wanted, which was to manipulate the situation in her favor. I refused to let her do that anymore. The biggest shock was discovering that she'd been faking the pregnancy. There was no baby. She lied about the doctor visits, about the ultrasound appointments. Everything was fake. I felt like I'd been punched again, but this time it was worse because it confirmed just how deep her deception went. She was willing to lie about having a child with me just to keep up her lies and cover her tracks. It was sick. I couldn't even process how someone could be so cold and calculated. In the midst of all this chaos, I realized I had to make some tough decisions. I thought about whether I could ever forgive her, and honestly, I didn't think I could. She had broken every trust I had, lied about everything, and used me like some pawn in her twisted game. I knew I needed to cut her out of my life for good. I also decided to file for divorce. It was the only way I could start healing and rebuild my sense of self. I didn't want her in my future, not after all this. Looking back, I see now how much I was blinded by love and trust. I was naive, believing in her fairy tale version of us. But this experience taught me a hard lesson. Never ignore the red flags and always trust your instincts. People can hide their true selves behind a mask, and sometimes that mask is a lot more dangerous than we realize. I'm still hurt, still angry, but I'm also slowly starting to heal. No matter how much it hurts to admit it, I'm better off without her. The scars will stay, but so will my strength to move forward. Now I'm at a point where I'm trying to put everything behind me, even though the wounds are still fresh. I've cut ties with Emily completely. No more calls, no more texts, nothing. I've learned to trust myself again, though the betrayal has left a permanent mark. I've started focusing on my career, my friends, and especially on rebuilding my confidence. It's not easy, and some days are still rough, but I know I can't let this define me. One thing I've realized is how important it is to listen to your gut. I ignored the warning signs for too long, too many little red flags that I didn't want to see. I wish I'd trusted myself more instead of making excuses for her. But maybe that was part of the lesson. Sometimes we have to go through hell to understand what's really worth fighting for. Now I see clearly, and I know what I won't tolerate anymore. Looking back, I feel a mix of everything: anger, sadness, relief, and even a strange sense of empowerment. The betrayal was brutal, but it also pushed me to be stronger. I've learned that some people are just good at pretending, and that love doesn't mean sacrificing your self-respect. I also learned that honesty and loyalty are everything in a relationship. Without those, nothing else matters. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'd say this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how small. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone is lying, cheating, or hiding secrets, get out. It's not worth sacrificing your happiness or sanity. The pain might feel overwhelming at first, but with time, you'll find your footing again. I'm still healing, but I know one thing for sure. This experience, as painful as it's been, has made me more resilient. And that's what I'll hold on to as I move forward.